Greetings and welcome to a bonus episode of Rubicon Reborn. I am Oleg and I will be documenting the following. Today we will be documenting the story that has been unraveling from behind the scenes, namely the journey of two AC pilots who have become triggers for coral release, with the addition of another, but more on that one later. It all started when the Vespers stole the rail cannon from the RAD HQ during week 1. The Vespers would then use this cannon to raid a PCA stronghold, and among the high-value assembly they would obtain a coral generator and a data log containing info on RRI experiments with this coral generator. These experiments would consist of mutating the coral by subjecting it to intense changes to its environment, such as extreme colds and heats. These experiments would yield the results of the coral changing color from red to green, and behaving erratically. However, it would always calm down and return to its base form. So the RRI scientists would take things further by containing this coral in an NGI generator, then placing it into an AC. A pilot would then operate the AC while being subjected to a multitude of intense experiments. The scientists found when the pilot was subjected to intense stress, the coral would begin to mutate, and unfortunate and unexplainable things would occur, such as the pilot developing psychological issues such as schizophrenia and delusion, as well as materials would form from the coral itself, and objects and people would disappear and reappear in different locations. The facility conducting these experiments was then attacked by a mysterious AC that destroyed the facility and killed the scientists. Years later, the PCA would find the wreckage of this facility and obtain the generator and small bits of data alluding to the experiments that were done here. Now, in recent time, the Vesper, known as V3, would begin experimenting with this coral generator, replicating the high-stress experiments of the RRI, and through enough trial and error, the coral once again began to mutate, and it gave the Vesper visions of a world that did not exist. And of a time that had not yet come. The visions then ended and the coral returned to its normal state. These results would then be shared with V2, who began similar experiments with another coral generator. And although it took a bit more effort to mutate the coral in this gen as it had not been mutated previously, V2's hidden ambition to obtain peak human evolution through the coral would prove vital in successfully mutating the coral. And so the results would be the same. The Vesper would be granted vision. However, things would take an unfortunate turn when V3 would return to his experiments, utilizing a specially crafted AC to push both himself and the coral to their limits. This experiment would result in V3's mind being damaged, with the voices of the dead plaguing his psyche, and his previous visions playing on loop. It was clear that he had gone too far, so he sought out the counsel of Oleg, and so Oleg was able to explain the psychological effects on V3's mind, and that he will need something to prevent its further deterioration. However, what exactly is unclear. Oleg would then inform V2 of V3's dilemma, and that the only way to prevent an unfortunate catastrophe was to kill V3. And although V2 had initially agreed to this plan, he was unable to go through with it as he had missed his opportunity to take out the Vesper through bounty hunt combat. And since this bounty he put on his teammate was public, he had to leave the Vespers and pursue a new organization that would be known as Leviathan. And it was through this new organization that V2, now known as Mobius, was able to acquire access to RRI and Oleg assembly, as well as a specialized signal jammer that allowed him to secretly ambush other pilots while they were out on missions. So now with the Leviathan group, Mobius began reaching out to other like-minded mercenaries and faction members to help him with his ambitions to further the evolution of humanity through the coral. It was also through the coral that both Mobius and V3, now known as Director Paradolia, after also leaving the Vespers to pursue his ambitions for a better tomorrow through the coral, they both saw the emergence of another. Enter RLF leader Monsoon, who learned about these RRI MRI coral experiments that both Mobius and Pareidolia had explored through data logs that the RLF acquired after successfully attacking the Vesper HQ, and after a lot of discussion between the RLF members as to who should undergo these experiments and if they even should risk it, Monsoon decided to take the chance and pursue the experiments herself, and much like Mobius, it was not easy and required strong focus on her ambitions to protect Rubicon and the RLF, her found family. But, through it all, she achieved a mutated coral connection, and not only similar visions to the others, but a voice had reached out as well, saying, "The path becomes cluttered now. I am almost here. Would you meet me? Do you even know? You decide what's real." And with that the visions ended, leaving Monsoon feeling both disturbed and enlightened. However, these feelings were not hers alone, as the other coral conduits felt this ripple and were made aware of her presence. Mobius even went as far as to enter another coral trance to find out more about Monsoon, discovering her ambitions and hearing the same voice she did. And so now, with these three coral conduits knowing of each other, Mobius building his army on the flying city Xylem, Pareidolia taking control of the Red Guns and rebranding it to New Genesis, and Monsoon, who is determined to avenge her fallen comrades, a war for the sake of humanity would begin.